أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ضرب الله مثلا عبدا مملوكا لا يقدر على شيء ومن رزقناه منا رزقا حسنا فهو ينفق منه سرا وجهرا هل يستوون؟ الحمد لله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. وضرب الله مثلا رجلين أحدهما أبكم لا يقدر على شيء وهو كل على مولاه أينما يوجهه لا يأت بخير. هل يستوي هو ومن يأمر بالعدل وهو على صراط مستقيم؟ ولله غيب السماوات والأرض وما أمر الساعة إلا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب إن الله على كل شيء قدير. صدق الله العظيم.
His Excellency Dr. Mohammad Muiz, President of the Republic of Maldives, His Excellency Musa Zamir, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Bradley Busatto, Interim United Nations Resident Coordinator, Cabinet Ministers, Mr. Steve Leonard, Global Tech Leader and Innovation Ecosystem Builder. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to you all. Welcome to the Summit of the Future Side event, a vision for an intelligence-driven future for Maldives, co-hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the United Nations in the Maldives. This event is being held in collaboration with various government agencies and academic institutions in aims to enhance awareness on intelligence and innovation-driven digital transformation, how it can address the unique challenges faced by the Maldives and similar nations. The opening ceremony commenced with recitation of Holy Quran by Mr. Ahmad Ali. My name is Aisha Trifka Muhammad. I am the Master of Ceremony for this event. Next on the agenda are the keynote addresses. May I now invite Mr. Bradley Busatto, Interim UN Resident Coordinator, to deliver the opening remarks. Mr. Bradley Busatto.
Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Maldives, Dr. Mohammad Muizu, distinguished cabinet ministers, ambassadors and high commissioners, esteemed guests from government, academia, civil society, and students. Assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon. It's with profound gratitude and happiness that I extend a warm welcome to you all at this gathering of the Maldives Side event for Summit of the Future titled A Vision for an Intelligence-Driven Future for Maldives. We're truly privileged to have this event graced by His Excellency the President, and I also extend my sincere greetings to the esteemed cabinet ministers and officials of the government of Maldives and participants from both public and private academic institutions, whose unwavering support and collaboration are crucial to realizing our shared vision for sustainable development for the Maldives and for all Maldivians. I'm especially pleased to welcome Mr. Steve Leonard, a global tech leader and a builder of innovation ecosystems, and also a dear friend to this event. I hope his expertise and insights will prove valuable to help us understand how a whole of society approach to problem solving can lead to what we can call purposeful innovation and to help create a more sustainable Maldives. Today's event marks a pivotal moment as we align our work with the urgent international conversations that are being held at the Summit of the Future in New York from 22 to 23 September, so in just a couple of weeks. And the Summit of the Future is all about how we work together for a better present and safeguard the future. It's really the first time since the United Nations was formed, that this sort of global meeting to do this has ever happened. So it's an important event, and this is an important contribution from Maldives to this. And it's great news that His Excellency the President will be leading the delegation of Maldives for the summit. Thank you. Our primary aim today is to explore how intelligence-driven transformation can effectively address both current and emerging challenges faced by Maldives, and think about purposeful innovation. For example, how can AI and intelligence-driven future help increase climate resilience, or make waste management more efficient, or increase food self-sufficiency, or make government services more easily available to citizens, and diversify the economy, and help Maldives become the world's leading blue economy. So the commitment to an intelligence-driven future is not just an option, it's a critical imperative for ensuring economic stability, social resilience, and environmental sustainability. Even more fundamentally, it should be a driver of good governance, the foundation of any society. By focusing on this intelligence-driven future, and thank you to the President for coining, which I think this is a fantastic term at the SIDS4 conference earlier this year, Maldives aims to harness the power of data, technology, and innovation to make informed decisions that propel the country forward. And this meeting serves as a call to action for all stakeholders, government leaders, international organizations, civil society, and the private sector, to collaborate in crafting policies and frameworks to enable this future. By leveraging our collective expertise and commitment, we can position the Maldives as a leader in digital resilience and innovation, and hopefully set a benchmark for all other small island developing states. I believe Maldives can and must transform itself from a small island developing state to the leading small island digital state. I truly believe Maldives can be the Estonia of the SIDS, and a leader in digital transformation that can show the path for many other countries. This should be the ambition, my personal view. At the same time, it's important also to acknowledge the challenges in front of us. The very fact of Maldives' dispersed geography, the gaps in comprehensive data protection and cybersecurity frameworks are real hurdles. The digital divide, particularly gender disparities in access and digital literacy, remain real issues that require real solutions. So our agenda today includes keynote addresses from our esteemed speakers, and I trust a dynamic panel discussion featuring leaders from the Maldivian government, academia, and the tech sector. And it's my hope that this event sparks and galvanizes more energy, more investment, more concrete actions, in particular, towards an intelligence-driven future. Thanks once again for your presence. We look forward to a productive conversation as we embark together on this journey. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley Bussetto. I now invite His Excellency Dr. Mohammad Muiz, President of the Republic of Maldives, to deliver the keynote address. His Excellency, the President.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Interim UN Resident Coordinator, other Cabinet Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good afternoon. For a country like the Maldives, a nation of scattered islands amidst the vast Indian Ocean, the digital revolution is not just a trend. It is a lifeline, a beacon of hope illuminating our path towards sustainable development and resilience. When we talk about digitalization, there are a few questions we must ask. Why should we invest in it? It is a tool reserved for more developed. Is it a tool reserved for more developed and wealthy countries? Can we afford to digitalize our systems instead of directing that capital towards more necessities like healthcare, roads, and housing? And most importantly, how will digitalization impact a small country like the Maldives? The answer to me is clear. Digitalization is a cornerstone of our national vision. In an era where digital tools are at our fingertips and where physical boundaries no longer limit us, we are committed to ensuring that every Maldivian, regardless of geographical location, has access to the digital tools they need to thrive. Our island nation, with its unique challenges, is a testament to the transformative power of innovation. From managing our scarce natural resources to enhancing public service delivery, we are showcasing how digitalization can shape our future. Allow me to share with you our journey towards digital transformation, a journey marked by innovation, inclusivity, and determination. The Maldives is embracing digitalization not only to enhance our economic prospects, but to elevate the quality of life for our people. Over the past decade, we have made significant strides in building the digital infrastructure necessary to connect our islands. Today, 100% of our population has access to high-speed internet, and we continue to enhance its efficiency. But digitalization is not just about infrastructure, it's about our people. Our focus is on empowering our citizens with digital literacy, ensuring that they are not just consumers of technology, but also creators and innovators. Through initiatives like the Digital Maldives program, we are equipping our youth with the skills needed to succeed in the digital economy. Equally, we are ensuring that our women, the backbone of our society, have equal access to these opportunities. As a nation highly vulnerable to climate change, the Maldives face urgent environmental challenges. Rising sea level threaten our islands and our way of life. But digitalization offers us a powerful tool to combat these challenges. From early warning systems that protect our communities, from natural disasters to smart technologies that optimize the use of our scarce resources, digital tools are helping us build a more sustainable and resilient future. Furthermore, digitalization enables us to bridge gaps in service delivery by offering remote access to essential services such as healthcare, education, and government services. It also helps us diversify our economy, promoting e-commerce, digital payments, and entrepreneurship. These digital tools create opportunities for startups and small businesses to flourish, contributing to economic diversification. In governance, digital systems are reducing corruption, enhancing accountability, and streamlining public services. With efficient digital governance, both citizens and investors benefit, strengthening the foundations of our society. However, we recognize that the challenges of the digital age are complex. Issues like cybersecurity, data privacy, misinformation, and the digital divide require global cooperation. The Maldives is committed to working with the international community to address these issues, ensuring that the benefits of digitalization are shared equitably. Looking ahead, our vision is clear. A Maldives where every citizen, every business, and every institution is digitally empowered. We are building a digital economy that is inclusive, innovative, affordable, and sustainable. Through e-governance, we aim to make public services more efficient and transparent, and we remain committed to creating a digital society that upholds our values, protects our culture, and promotes social equity. As we gather here today, we stand at the brink of a new era, one where our decisions will shape the trajectory of our small island nation and the planet for generations to come. The COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated the paramount importance of digitalization for our development. From online health services to teleclasses, and from enabling remote work to e-commerce, we have shown that we are ready for a digital world. Now it is time to embrace and elevate this transformation. Digitalization is not just a tool, it is the key to unlocking a brighter, more sustainable future. Even when we were considered a least developed country, we achieved universal telephone coverage. Today, essential services like healthcare, education, housing, and social welfare are accessible to all Maldivians through various digital platforms. We are also exploring cutting-edge applications of 5G technology and including using drones for medical supply delivery and implementing smart road systems. These advancements will open new doors for academics, industries, and decision makers alike. Effective governance in this digital age is critical, especially given the unique geographic and environmental challenges we face. One of our major hurdles is a lack of capital, which is why I spearheaded the establishment of the Development Bank of Maldives. This institution will focus on financing projects that support digital innovation, sustainability, and both economic and social development. We are also developing a national development master plan to create innovation hubs and technology parks across the country. Additionally, to support our digital revolution, we are expanding the National Center for Information Technology and have established a national cyber security agency to address security concerns. As I conclude, I want to remind us all the story of the Maldives is a story of resilience. We are a small nation, but our ambitions are vast. Digitalization is the tool that will allow us to not only survive, but to prosper and thrive in an ever-changing world. With the continued support of the international community and with the unwavering determination of the Maldivian people, we will turn this vision into a reality. Our aim is not just digital connectivity, but a transformation that enhances the quality of life for every Maldivian and contribute to global efforts towards sustainable development. I extend my gratitude to the United Nations team in the Maldives for their support in building the digital structures necessary for our development. As we move forward, let us remember that our success will be measured not just by the technologies we deploy, but by the lives we improve through using them. Today, I urge all of you to not to see this as a moment of reflection, but a call to action. Together, we can build a future that is resilient, intelligent, and inclusive. Together, we can shape a brighter, more sustainable world for the Maldives and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency, the President. For the final remarks of the opening ceremony, I now invite Mr. Steve Leonard, Global Tech Leader and Innovation Ecosystem Builder. Mr. Steve Leonard.
President, Cabinet, leaders, excellencies, distinguished guests, thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be a part of this special event. I very much appreciate it. And of course, to the MFA and to the UN, thank you for bringing us all together and organizing this. I have a special spot in the Maldives. My heart and a lot of our happy experiences as a family are here. My family and I lived more than 20 years in Singapore, during which time I worked for Singapore government for 7 years, initially leading the Technology and Telecommunications Agency, and later setting up an organization to fund and launch deep tech startups in Singapore that were tackling hard problems. We were very fortunate to make 6 trips from Singapore as a family to spend time in some of the islands, pursuing our passion for diving. And we were very thankful to come away with the clear understanding that Maldives is a magical and very special place. So when Bradley said, could I be a part of this and share some thoughts, I was more than happy to contribute in any way that I could now and any way that I can into the future. So I was very encouraged and excited to hear your remarks, Mr. President. The idea that technology is not the thing, but is a way of improving lives and tackling important problems, I completely believe, completely support. And my own experience, having been in information technology my entire career, is everything must have a purpose. To pursue something without a purpose, without solving a problem, to me, is not the ideal outcome. So I worked with a lot of universities in different locations during my time with Singapore government. And I always was curious why researchers would pursue something that was purely interesting, and I was very interested, but for what purpose, what problem, what human problem? Something around food or water or energy or housing. So I like that idea very much. I thought, what can I do to share some examples? And I wanted to illustrate through a story or 2 stories, very briefly, how I think of these things in the hopes that it gives us conversation that we can continue. And I hope the first story will also have some resonance for you, Mr. President, with your expertise and background in engineering. And so some of the areas here, I go to the past and I go to the present. So the first story that I'd like to share is an example of how government and non-government leaders had to work together to tackle an important human problem. And so I now live in London. My wife's English, and she said, after 20-something years of living in rental accommodation, can we please live in our own home for a while? So we moved back to London when our youngest child moved off for university. So I picked an example from London. And the reality is that because of sanitation, or lack of sanitation, and very crowded housing, thousands of people a year were dying in the 1830s, 40s, 50s, because of cholera and typhus. And so there was a gentleman that was a very passionate advocating all the time, we need to think about other parts of society, not the rich parts of society, the poor people, the people that are badly affected. How can we think about these people importantly? And so the example was, he kept advocating for a public standard of health, that it should be the government stepping in and saying there's a public standard of health. Through his long-term commitments, a Public Health Act was passed in 1848. And so this example here, Chadwick, was the person that really pushed and pushed in order to make this example real. So this created some standards, but the problems continue. So the first learning point is having a framework and some standards and some regulations is not enough. Dr. John Snow came into the picture more prominently and said, I know that there's not something that's causing all of these illnesses and death that's purely from smell, right? The theory at the time was miasma. If I smell something bad, it's what makes me sick. It's what causes the disease. It was a very popular theory at the time. Dr. Snow said there's something more. And so the important point that I wanted to use here is he mapped where cholera was occurring and where water was being pumped, because water was being drawn straight from the Thames. And the Thames was also the main area that was carrying all the sewage downriver. So Dr. Snow said it's actually not the smell that's causing the problem. I think it's something more. So I share this example, this map, because as Maldives thinks about an intelligence-driven future, using data to make important choices, this is one way of illustrating it for me. He mapped this concentration. Cases are occurring here. There's a pump there. There has to be a connection. And this was some of the early persuasion that he was able to use to get policymakers to change their thinking. But that was not enough either. And so the big change that occurred is when it affects certain people, let's say the people that have the ability to make things happen. And so in 1858, 10 years after the public health had been passed, many parts of the UK had not adopted these standards, chose to opt out, chose to go slow. And so this affected Parliament. So now in 1858, the temperature was so high that the Thames essentially became unbearable. And of course, the Houses of Parliament sit adjacent to the Thames. So all of the members of Parliament, after trying things like heavy curtains and lots of fresh flowers and perfumes, said, we can't operate here anymore. We have to go find somewhere else to work from. So this was the catalyst that caused people to really say, okay, something has to change. So this gentleman, Joseph Bazalgette, came into the picture. He had been putting forward ideas for years about an important building of sewer networks to move effluent from where it was going straight into the Thames in the center of London, from which drinking water was being drawn downstream, away from the population. But he had never had the funding or the support to make that happen. And so after this horrific summer, Parliament said, do what you need to do. Go make it happen. So Bazalgette was able to bring forward his plans, but the important point here is new ideas, relatively new ideas around steam engines, around new construction methods. He innovated his way into a meaningful change. And I share this picture because it just represents everywhere that there's a line, that's change in London. The whole of London was undergoing a massive set of changes at one time. And so the problem, or the reality is, some areas had to be demolished. New areas were created. So the reality is that in some situations, important change takes painful choices, and not everyone is happy. People whose houses were being demolished, obviously unhappy. But there was new areas created. And so through this, I give you a sense of the scale. In only 6 years, 300 million bricks were laid by people digging by hand trenches across the whole of London in order to be able to move what had been a human health problem downstream. Now, it didn't solve the problem of it moved downstream, it didn't go away, but it moved it from central London where everybody was drinking water from, and therefore the cholera deaths, importantly, went from 10,000 the year before Bazalgette got involved to essentially 0. So when we talk about purposeful innovation, what I'd like to do is just show this picture because I'm a fan of Victorian engineering and excellence. This is one of the sewage pumping stations. So when you think about the attention to detail, this was built in the 1850s, the attention to detail that's still there today, and I was only there 2 weeks ago just to refresh my memory of this story, is something that I really appreciate and admire. If we're going to do something, let's do something meaningful and something impactful. So this is the purposeful innovation. Now, if I think about a story from the present, this is a story about a friend of mine, so I'll be very transparent. I'm an advocate for her and a fan of hers. 700 million cases a year of ear infections around the world. A lot of kids have them. My own son had it when he was a small child, middle ear. And so you can have an ear, the incision of the eardrum, they insert a grommet to relieve the pressure, and that's essentially the solution. But here's how it is done today. Right? So this is Lynn, the surgeon in the bottom of the picture. She is performing that operation, but you'll see what's happening. She's in an operating theater surrounded by nurses and doctors, a surgical microscope, general anesthesia for the kids. So I can assure you that when my son went under general anesthesia at 2 years old, my wife and I were terrified. That personal experience. So when Lynn said, I think there's a better way, I was excited to see how we could be supportive, my former team. So here's Lynn. She was surrounded by kids. She goes out on different missions to work with kids in Laos and Vietnam and Cambodia as a doctor in the field. She realized that she could not help any of these kids because she didn't have access to the surgical microscope, to the general anesthesia, to the whole support system. So Lynn said, well, there must be a better way. And so the idea for this, when she took her own daughter for ear piercing, was that with one click, the lobe of the ear was pierced, the earring was inserted, and she said, why can't we do something like that for this grommet with the eardrum? So she started on a journey of designing, sort of pencil and paper, imagining, worked first with the universities on raw research about how to have the needle reach the eardrum and reach the right spot, not too far, not too short. So she had to work with universities on the research level. Then she worked with some of the early commercialization arms of the universities to see if it could be made into a product. Then my team got involved with raising money for her early startup and helping her bring the commercialization to the next step, getting the relevant approvals. And so here's what Lynn and her imagination have now resulted in. So a trained person in any given location can use this tool, insert in the child's ear while the parent's standing there. It incises the eardrum, inserts an already approved medical grade grommet, and withdraws, all in 0.2 of a second. So no general anesthesia, no operating theater, and she can now work with kids in countries around the world. Purposeful innovation, tackling a human problem. So this is an example of what Lynn's doing, and I'm thankful to give her a shout out here since we talked about parity and the importance of all talent in a community. Lynn was recognized outside of Singapore for her work to try and bring these types of tools to the reach of people in different countries around the world. So I'm happy to celebrate Lynn. So here's my 2 observations for our consideration as we go. Government, with all of its tools and capabilities and influence and power, cannot on its own solve difficult human problems. It needs to collaborate closely with scientists and engineers, those that can imagine and develop and build and deliver. So this collaboration is so critical. Sometimes people say, if only government could do this, or if only engineers would do that. I learned working for Singapore government that these things are possible when, and only when, we work closely together as different parts of the ecosystem. And scientists can imagine and build all the things that they like, but without the regulations and frameworks and approvals that governments can endow and bestow, it's not possible. Take a look at autonomous vehicles in different parts of the world. The technology may be one thing. Who ensures the situation? What are the speed limits? Who oversees autonomous vehicles? So regulation and technology have to go hand in glove. So when the president was outlining his vision for an intelligence-driven future, much more than digitalization, which although critical, is a step on the journey of improving lives, I think that's amazing. Observation 2. It does require, and I know this sounds obvious, it does require a big ambition enabled and brought to life by smart and motivated people. So a big ambition without people being a part of it to bring it to that realization, it's just a vision. And of course, smart and motivated people are always excited to work on something that inspires and enthuses and makes their work purposeful. So that's why, having heard before today, having read the President's speech at SIDS, and now having heard the President in person, I'm very excited about the intelligence-driven future for the Maldives. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited about the capability and the talent that's in this room and beyond, and I look forward to being a supporter and a cheerleader in any way that I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Steve Leonard. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the opening ceremony. I thank you.